Good morning. This is the JP Dinnell podcast, episode 12. I am JP Dinnell, and as always, I have my buddy Lucas with me. What's up, man?
What's going on, dude?
So it is now morning because when I went out, the sun was shining.
Ooh, that's good.
When we were recording the other episode, it was still dark. So
it was very dark.
I said, good evening to you, even though it was early in the morning. Man. So I'm excited. I got this new program I started. I talked about the last episode with the team at 360 Fitness. Some of us at Echelon Front have gotten default aggressive, or should I say have gone default aggressive? I don't know. Which one is that? We have gotten default aggressive or we have gone default aggressive?
Both and.
Both and? Okay,
yeah,
cool.
Yeah,
Anyways, we be default aggressive.
That's
with the DEFReset that Echelon Front has launched. It officially starts in January, but just a handful of us have started it early. The DEFReset is a program we started at Echelon Front to help people get on the path and stay on the path. It's a pretty simple and easy program to participate in. It's awesome. Really enjoyed it when we did it last year, and I also really enjoyed just seeing all the impact that it brought to other people because it's a sustainable thing that you can be following every day. So it's going to officially launch in January, but you can actually go to thedefreset.com right now to get more information. They have these little packages, right? We were talking about that earlier that they're going to sell out, but that you can get that has a bunch of swag and stuff in there that helps kind of keep you on the path. But anyways, which is awesome. So each week in January, we're going to deliver the following to you that are signed up and registered to do that. This is crazy. Weekly masterclass videos, video lessons from Jocko Fuel, Echelon Front, and Train Hard. Train Hard is a company that Jason Kliepa, who we talked about on episode 10, started and has partnered with us on this. If you're watching on YouTube, I got one of his Train Hard shirts. I went to his website and ordered a couple shirts and his book that I've been just loving that book. I feel like we could do an episode for every chapter as I've been breaking it down. It's awesome. My cousin came out for Pursuit as well. My cousin Matt Lenhart. And he came out from Arizona where he lives with his beautiful wife. And we were talking, we were in my office. He saw Jason's book. He's like, oh, I love that book. And I'm like, oh, that's awesome. I was like, I actually have one on the way to you because I had ordered him as well.
That's awesome, dude.
So it was pretty cool. So also a 4-week training program with 30 guided workouts. It's going to be pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Weekly challenges and prizes from GoRuck, Sornex, Yeti, NutriBullet, Origin, and more. All I got to say about Sornex, if you're listening, which I don't think the guy who started it listens to me, but we're connected on, we have a lot of common friends, but Bert. Bert Soren. No.
Sornex is not spelled like Soreneck. Because the very first time I heard Sornex, I was like, this sounds like something that's going to hurt my neck. No, it's different. Sorenex.
Yes,
Sornex.
That's how you spell it.
Yeah.
I can't remember his last name. Of course, I'm drawing a blank. But anyways, whatever. All I got to say is the next time the good barbell comes out for Jocko, and I don't get one of those, we're going to have some problems, man. And I told Jocko the same thing. I'm like, hey, we're going to have some problems. Like, if I can't, like, I've been your bro longer than any of these other guys.
Yeah.
And I mean, but they do a limited run every time and they sell out less than 60 seconds.
Yeah.
It pisses me off. I'm like, I don't want it for free. I'm not asking for free. Like, I would love to replace all my other barbells with your barbells. And it just says good on there. I think it would be a smart little maybe idea, considering I have a good amount of people that come through the house for workouts and group workouts. And then when they realize how awesome the Sornex barbells are. But whatever. I can't even get a good barbell from Sornex. And I work for Jocko.
Well,
it's a failure. Yeah. Obviously, I don't have enough influence, or I don't have a good enough relationship.
If you want to send me one and then I can show JP, I think that would be amazing.
But, dude.
Or if Richard Soren, who is the founder and owner, or Bert, who's now the president and co-owner, if you guys want to send me one,
dude,
I'm not afraid to have a Sornex barbell to show JP next time he comes over for a workout.
I would be very happy for you. You're also going to get a downloadable DEF habit tracker. Remember, DEF stands for Discipline Equals Freedom. Yeah. So it's a habit tracker. And then also exclusive offers and savings from all the DEF partners, which is awesome.
There's a lot of them. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And the Get After It gearbox is what you were talking about.
Yes.
And it's currently on sale for $100 instead of $130. If they still have them, because they're going quick. Yeah.
So there's a lot more great information on that. So you definitely need to go check out the website to get more information. Need to go to the DEFReset.com and get the rest of the information. But here's what's crazy. The grand prize winner is going to receive 2 tickets to the muster. Oh, yeah.
Really?
You get 2 tickets to the muster and hotel accommodations.
How eligible am I for this?
You don't work for Echelon Front.
This is true.
It's you doing it on your own. You sign up, you follow the program.
Well, good luck, everybody else out there. I want to go to the mustard for free.
Mustard or muster? I think if you call it mustard, you might disqualify yourself one more time.
There you go. I've created my own exemption.
Weird. Yeah, you're like, oh, I'm going to change this habit real quick. So yeah, you receive 2 tickets to the muster and hotel accommodations and a year's supply of supplements from Jocko Fuel to include Mulk, Go energy drinks, greens, creatines, and the other supplements that they have.
That's awesome, man.
You understand how much money all that is worth in the supplements?
Yes, I do.
And the muster tickets.
Yep.
And the hotels at the event. So you're staying at the venue. It's not going to be like, all right, let's put them, which there's nothing wrong with staying here, but they're not going to put you in the Motel 6 18 miles away. You're going to be at the Gaylord and Texan. Or
where you could just walk around the corner and there's the muster.
Or the Grand Old Opry in Nashville. I don't know which muster you get to go to, but pretty awesome that you get to stay there.
So you can wake up at 4:40 for the 4:45 morning PT.
You know there are people that do that and are able to do that?
That like with just the 5-minute warning?
Yes.
Not unless I was like sleeping in the clothes I was gonna.
Not unless it was an accident and then you wake up with a panic heart attack.
Right? Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't. I need like a good 20 minutes to get me like in the mindset to go do something.
I mean, even for waking up for a workout, I have to get up an hour ahead of time because I got to move around.
Yeah.
I'm weird. I want to take
the blood flowing.
I want to also take a shower.
You want to take a shower before you work out?
Yep. I do that often.
Interesting.
I don't want to be the smelly guy, even though I don't smell. And my wife's like, you don't smell ever.
You don't want to be the smelly guy at the gym? It's not like you want a cold shower like you're James Bond and you're like, oh, I'm going to...
No, I do that as well. Yeah. I like that, but no.
Because that makes sense in my brain. Like, hey, I'm going to get the 2-minute quick cold shower to get me ready to go. Yeah, you want to do it so that you don't...
I'm trying to be
you're
polite.
Not stinky for your gym bros.
Yeah, I try to be polite to the people around me.
You're such a kind and generous person.
I get that from my dad. He is always showered before. Like, he will take 5 showers a day.
Really?
Yep.
Dude, I would not hesitate to walk into a gym smelling like an old nanny goat and then come home and shower so that I don't smell that way from my wife.
So you and Justin are very similar like that because he told me, he's like, what? He's like, I don't think I've ever showered.
No, like if I stink, like, okay, I'll put on a hoodie. Now I'm going to ruin a couple of articles of clothing.
Justin's like that. Justin told me, Justin Blythe, who we were talking about, I love him. He works for us at Echelon Front. He's also one of my trainers. He freaking told me that one time. And I could tell he was like hesitant to tell me because I'm like going hard in the paint. Like, bro, I shower every day, at least twice a day. Sometimes 3 days. It's 3 times because I'll shower before I work out. I definitely shower before jiu-jitsu. Like that's a non-negotiable.
Okay.
And then I shower after. So if I'm working out and doing jiu-jitsu, there might be 4 showers in there, man.
Dude.
And he was just like, look, and he's just like, what did he say? I think he was like, okay, I think you're gonna really judge. It's something about me judging him, but he's like, I don't shower before I work out ever. Now jiu-jitsu, that's different, but he's like, ever. And I'm like, and I'm thinking, and he knows I'm thinking, like, even in the middle of summer when you've been working hard all day, training people, and then and he's like, no, I just don't shower. I'm like, can't do it.
Yeah, I'm in that camp.
Can't you know how many baby wipes I went through overseas?
No.
Baby wipe showers and bottles of water. I've told you about the bottle of water shower thing, right? It does make a lot
more. No, you haven't, but it does make a lot more sense why you needed your loofah, that life-saving loofah that you went to go get.
That was
if you're taking 6 showers a day.
No, I'm not taking 6 showers a day, dude. No, so I can scrub the dirt out of my short hair.
That like it, but if you are convinced that you need a certain level of cleanliness, because I do think that there are probably guys that you were there with that would have been like, nah, just let the water hit me and that it's not a big deal. But you were like, no, I have to be clean, so I've got to go.
Yeah, there's even guys I know of that didn't even care if water touched them.
Yeah, I couldn't do that.
They're like, no, I'll just baby wipe, you know.
Okay, so talk to me about the water bottle shower.
Oh, okay, so my buddy Nick Hobbs, who's in the Marines,
right?
That was attached with us. Dude's an absolute stud. Love him. I've got a few funny stories about Nick, but I actually want him to be on the podcast to share.
Okay.
But for one time, dude, we were in a building, and the building next to us had enemy fighters in it. And so we're in this like 3 or 4 story building, and it had enemy fighters next to us, and they threw a grenade up at us, and it almost came into the window of the room that we're in, and it came up and exploded right at the level of the window. But we had both been like I was ducking down, and he was behind me like ducking down, and a piece of the fragment of the that grenade like tore through his tricep, and he hid it from his leadership because he didn't want to not be able to come out with the SEALs anymore. Talk about a freaking stud, because he believed in the mission. He believed in what we're doing, and he had good leaders, but he also had a leader that was pretty risk adverse. And it's like, bro, we're in Ramadi. Like, if you're going to be risk averse, like, maybe don't come to Ramadi. But I mean, that's a whole other thing that we can unload and unpackage. And, you know, somebody's going to say, well, that's not fair for me to say. And you're right. And I apologize. But Nick wanted to get into the fight, and so he hid it from his leadership. And somebody like found out about it, and they're like, bro, you can't. And so he got obviously his Purple Heart and some other stuff from that mission. But it's like, dude. But anyway, so man. Nick, jokes like there'd be times where we'd be up on the rooftop or in the courtyard of Full Metal Jacket, which was the building that we lived in at Camp Corregidor. And you take a water bottle and you poke some holes in it because the shower tent was down or had been blown up again or something like that. So you take
blown up again.
Yeah. So you take a water bottle, you poke holes in the top of it. Your buddy stands on a chair, so he's taller than you. He holds the water bottle, and if you're on YouTube, you need to be watching on YouTube so you can see what we're doing. Holds the water bottle up and squeezes it slowly, and then it's like the shower is coming down, and you're using that to and you're just wearing your little running shorts, your little silkies,
right? And
you use that to shower. And so guys, the whole baby wipe shower thing that you hear about, like guys would literally go, there are some guys that have been in like such like crazy areas in combat where the only shower they had was from baby wipes and bottles of water. No actual hot water, no actual running water. Literally, like there's some outstations that guys will spend their deployments at. They're like that. And that was like Ramadi. We didn't have hot showers every day. There was times where you'd go, if you think about it, you're on a sniper Overwatch for 24, 48, 72 hours, 96 hours, you're out there doing patrols. There's guys that would literally go weeks without showering. They just hit the spots that are needed with the baby wipe for, hygiene purposes.
Right.
Other than that, no. Like your camis aren't getting washed and dried and folded up. So you're putting on like hard, crusty cami uniforms, and the reason why they're hard is because of all the sweat and the dirt.
Yeah,
it has the salt like the sweat from the salt is like stained into your uniform, and you're just like putting that back on, and you're just like, you like smell that, and you're like, oh my gosh, okay. That was, yeah. And
and this would have been like what year?
This is 2006.
2006. So I think, your experiences in 2006 in Ramadi are really close to mine when I was working at Guitar Center. It's just, there's a lot of congruency that I see here, because we had a lot of guys that also didn't shower. They came in with crusty clothes that, they were patrolling for customers, and we had to say, hey, listen, man, here's a few baby wipes. Go into the bathroom and fix this.
Crazy that you have to tell adults, like, you should probably shower and put on deodorant.
Yeah, they didn't have, because we had hot water and all of that. Like they had all those things at their disposal. It is amazing to me sometimes that you and I sit at the same table for this show. Whenever it comes, like, you start sharing things like this about your life, and you're like, oh yeah, we had, first off, because nobody would have to stand on a chair in order to give me a water bottle shower. They could just reach their arms up and do it. It's fine.
Unless it's me. It's going to be
it'd be a
stretch.
Right. Yeah.
It'd be a shoulder workout for me.
For sure. Yeah. But we could make that happen.
Yeah.
But number two, like, just listening to the things that you went through in 2006 and what you guys did in Ramadi, not even like on the missions and those kind of things, but the life situations that you had to deal with are so completely opposite of the things that we did in it. On the one hand, it's like that the memes of like, hey, we are not the same. Whenever it goes through and it's like, oh, in 2006 you were at Guitar Center? Cool. I was 96 hours on a sniper Overwatch. # we're not the same, which is valid, though I know you would never say that, right? So I want to make that that perfectly clear, that this is coming from me and not the other way around. As I'm realizing, like, oh yeah, the guy sitting at the table would be. We do not share a lot of life experiences in common when it comes to this. And then number two is just the amount of dedication that you guys had to that mission, particularly when, okay, so in 2000, like, full transparency, 2006, right? Like, we're in the middle of the last term of President George W. Bush.
Yes.
We're talking about, who all of the new candidates are coming up. Those discussions are starting to happen for candidacy and like, we're trying to decide what political parties and caucuses or primaries and things we're going to be a part of because of how much we agree or disagree with what may be happening over there. And being a musician and a creative type, there was a lot for us to consider. And, now looking back at like what information we had back home, or what we were getting back home versus like hearing what you guys were in and how much y'all believed in the mission because of what it meant to those people that were there.
Yeah.
It's almost like we weren't living on the same planet. It's bizarre,
it's fair,
man.
For sure.
Yeah. And so thanks for that. Thanks for not just the perspective, but thanks for being there.
Well, I appreciate it. It was a lot of fun.
It sounds, parts of it really sound like they were a lot of fun.
It really was a lot of fun, man. I'm telling you, man. I enjoyed every aspect. It's like just like with the FTX, the field training exercise that we run at Echelon Front. There's not one aspect about it that I don't love doing. So that's why decentralized command is the hardest thing for me to do, because I like doing the stuff.
Yeah.
But it's not my job to do all of the stuff. I don't have to anymore. That's why I have Cody, and even Cody doesn't, because he's built out a team with Danny and Justin, and then all the guys that are regularly helping on FTX is like Josh Strasburger and James Gonzalez.
Yeah,
what did you say?
Strassaltburger, I think is what somebody called him. Strassaltburger.
Saltburger?
Yeah, as if...
Salty burger?
Yeah, as though like his name needed more syllables.
Yeah. He's such a good dude.
I love Josh.
All the other guys. Jesse Rembert, he's trying to come on the podcast. He's just got to get some approval from his leadership. He's my buddy, former Green Beret, full-time Denver SWAT guy.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Dude, the stories of what they have to deal with is absolutely crazy.
I'm sure it's insane.
Yeah. So we have some questions. We want to do a Q&A.
Yeah.
I know we have, from this point, about 50 more minutes.
Let's see if we can get some questions answered.
Do the ebb and flow of longer episodes, Shorter ones, and when we say shorter, we're still right around that 90-minute mark. I think people like that amount of time. I mean, let us know in the comments. I guess you guys can let us know in the comments if...
Do you listen back to our episodes?
I do.
Yeah. What speed do you listen to us at?
1.5.
Okay.
Why?
Yeah, I'm just trying to see, because like I listen at 1.5 or 2.
Yeah.
Right? I have to listen to Jocko at 2. And I know that there are a lot of people that love like the big dramatic pause.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we've talked about this, but with a production background, dead air is considered just like a killer whenever you're working in radio. Because, you know, if somebody's in traffic and they don't hear anything for 30 seconds, they're changing the station. Now, with a podcast, obviously, it's different because they're there. People are there for the 72-second pause.
Yeah, well, and if you're getting that long of a pause from Jocko, you're probably pausing as well, because he just talked about something that's freaking deep.
Yeah.
And dark. And there's been a few. I remember at the very beginning, I'd be listening to him, and I would text him. I'm like, definitely shouldn't have listened to this one at night.
Yeah,
like,
no kidding,
and
right?
he was just like, yeah, I think it was the My Lai massacre one. Mm-hmm. And a few others. He's like, yeah, this is typical Jocko. He's like, I'm sorry, that's my fault. I should have warned you about that. And then we were texting back and forth, and he like sent me some like links to some like Chris Farley skits and some like The Office episodes that were just
hysterical.
Hilarious. And they're like, all right, watch that instead before bed, and then obviously pray. So, what do you got?
All right, so
from the interwebs,
from Big Red Lucas Rosner. That's how I think you're supposed to say it. Big Red Lucas Rosner. Okay. My wife and I lead worship at our church, and I'm an associate pastor, 23 years old. You sweet young pup. I'd love to hear all y'all's thoughts on longevity in ministry. Love you so much. Thank you for your sacrifice to serve others. Seriously is in all caps. But I don't have that kind of enthusiasm in my second cup of coffee to say it as though it was in all caps.
Oh, this is off of YouTube, right?
This is off of YouTube. Yep. Yeah. This is a YouTube's, and then so I asked for a little bit of clarity in what he meant. So we're looking at thoughts on longevity in ministry. So I think there's two ways that we can go with this. I want your thoughts on both.
Yeah.
Right. How do you stay in ministry for the long haul, or how do you stay at a job for the long haul when you're in leadership? Because there's a lot of pressure there. Or and then the second thing I want questions on is how do you do it without losing your effectiveness over time? So hit that first one. How do you stay in ministry? How do you stay in leadership for the long haul?
Not getting complacent. I mean, we'll dive deeper into it.
Sure.
But I'm just saying, like, that's the answer.
Yeah.
So understanding that not getting complacent is the foundation of this, and then you need to build upon that as your foundation. Okay, so what does that mean? All right. So if you're not getting complacent, that means that you still need to be reading. You need to be studying. And if you're in ministry, you should be writing as well, because writing helps you articulate your messages better. It makes you a better speaker. It gives you the ability to, communicate better. You should be reading and writing if you're trying to improve your speaking skills.
Yeah.
You need to be focused on listening to the people around you and not getting complacent in regards to thinking, man, I've been doing this for 20 years. I know it all. Understanding that you don't know it all, because life is dynamic and there's things that are going to come your way. And instead of just thinking, oh, I've heard it all, or, this is a common thing that I get and the common problems that I hear. No, we gotta treat each person as is your first person that you've ever been talking about.
Yeah.
And I think that's hard to do. It's hard for people to treat people like that if they've been doing it for so long. Also, I think it's important if you're in ministry to take control of your health, because you need to be setting that example. And now I know there's phenomenal leaders in churches that are not healthy. But man, that's something I struggle with, is because I think you need to be setting that example as well. I mean, I'm not where I want to be physically. I still got some work to do. Mm-hmm. And that's something I think about in regards to, okay, what I do at Echelon Front, because I'm representing Echelon Front, but then also as a Christian, because I'm representing to others how I treat my body.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's a way to show God respect, is to treating my body. It's our temple, and so I think if you're in ministry, you need to also be living a healthy lifestyle. That's just my opinion. Because it's a great way to set the example to other people. I would also say building up your replacements. You need to understand that this is not about you, but it is up to you to build out your pastoral staff, to train them, to equip them, to empower them, to build your congregation. I think it's awesome. Our church that we go to in Keller, Milestone, Pastor Jeff Little, every year he does a thing that's free for pastors and any pastoral staff members to come join. And they have other pastors and speakers come in, and it's like a full day church leadership type of thing where they get into all the details of how to grow your business, not your business, sorry, I'm thinking Echelon Front, how to grow your church and your congregation and to grow your staff to empower them, which is really cool. So you need to be focused on the people around you. And I think that's that's a really big, important part to add. If you're, instead of just being specific on all the things, because it's going to be different for each person.
Yeah.
But the general theme is, okay, hey, don't get complacent and make sure you're serving your people. So if you're serving your staff, if you're serving your congregation, you're going to do the right things, because that comes back to the whole, if you believe in the mission, you'll make the right choices. And now, regards to what those right choices are, it's going to be different for your church versus my church versus somebody else's church, and understand that all those scenarios are going to be unique as well.
Yeah, I would echo everything that you just said. Right. We just had a leadership training this past weekend up here where we're implementing a lot of the stuff that you guys teach at Echelon Front, where we're starting with, we're doing quarterly trainings with our leaders where we're implementing one of the rules of combat every time, using biblical examples to get through it. And so we started with cover and move, and then in March we'll do a simplify, and then prioritize and execute. And then when we get back to our December meeting in 2024, we're going to review like how well we've implemented those things, how effective they've been, so that we're doing it in iterations, so that everybody's not overwhelmed and with a culture change. And I sent out a read back email yesterday, and one of the things that I put in this is the last paragraph. It says this strategy will allow us not only to be able to serve our community better, but also to serve the better part of our community, as no one leader is completely dependent upon to do it all.
That's huge.
And that is, I think, one of those things that we as church leaders, we feel that responsibility of, I'm the pastor, and ultimately, like, there are a lot of things that it's our responsibility. We take ownership of all of that, but feeling like I have to be the one to do it all is more than anything what burns people out in ministry. And the idea of taking the time to train our replacements, even in serving, community service or being in ministry or any of those kinds of things, there's a competitive nature to leaders that can cause us to feel insecure about training our replacements. And I think particularly in ministry, there's this insecurity of, if somebody can speak better than me, if they're a better teacher than I am, then the people or the church won't have as much use for me as they did otherwise. And I hear this from a lot of ministers, but the truth is, if we're able to train, the teachers and the preachers and the leaders that are better than us, then that means we have one of two really wonderful options that are in front of us. And the first is that if we can train the person to replace us in the congregation that we're at, then that means that we can go, if God calls them to take that over, then we can go somewhere else and do the same thing.
Again,
yeah, absolutely.
And do it again and build the kingdom.
Exactly. And the second is that, if they are a better teacher or preacher than us, then we can go send them to a place where they can be effective in building the kingdom. We can give them the responsibility to plant churches and those types of things. And so I think that's that's one of the biggest things, is remembering that our job as leaders, even in ministry, is to raise up leaders, because essentially that's exactly what Jesus did.
Yes.
Right? The apostles effectively took his spot, not as savior, right? But as leader of the church. They took his spot, and then they did it in Jerusalem, and then they did it in Judea, and then Samaria, and then the ends of the earth, as they followed the things that he had commanded them. If he did not train them to do that, then the church would have died with those 11 that were there.
Yeah, that's crazy. And what you're talking about is humility.
Yeah,
I mean and I think that's why we talk about how humility is the number one characteristic of a great leader, is because if I am humble, I am going to be complacent. I'm sorry. If I am humble, I'm going to fight complacency.
Yeah.
Because when I'm humble, I don't think that I have it all figured out. I don't think that I'm the best. I don't think that I'm the greatest leader out there, or the greatest, whatever, fill in the blank. Like, I don't think that. And I want to be. And because I want to be the best, and I don't think I'm the best, because of my humility, what does it force me to do? To keep working.
Yeah.
And if I'm working, then that requires energy and focus and buy into the mission. That allows me to stay alive and enjoying what I'm doing. It's the same thing in business. It's the same thing with your wife or your husband, if you're listening, like, right, in your marriage, is just having this, go to war with complacency mindset of saying, like, I have a great marriage, but it's not where I want it to be.
Yeah.
What do I need to do to get my marriage where I want it to be? And so if we can shift our mindset that way, I think it's a good thing for us to do.
So the second part of that question then, as I'm reading it and thinking about it, is how do you then remain effective, right? If now we figured out some things for longevity, when we look at long-term leaders, they tend to over time lose their effectiveness. Whether it's a coach, and right now I think one of the best examples of that, I know you're not a huge sports geek, but one of the best examples of that is Bill Belichick at the Patriots. Right?
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah, I mean he was a phenomenal coach for a really long time, right? He had Tom Brady, and when he lost a guy who is, I mean, maybe the greatest of all time at his position, right now the success isn't there, and a lot of that is being put on, like, oh, you know what? Maybe he wasn't as good a coach as we thought he was. Maybe it was all this other guy. And he's going to, and we've seen this time and time again, right? The same thing happened with Tom Landry and the Cowboys. You lose those star leaders that you have in the locker room, and now people start questioning your ability to lead. You have to reset. You've got to figure out how you reinvigorate the culture. So how do you, as a leader, right, how do you keep people engaged in your leadership and moving in a direction where you can do this long term?
Relationships. Because you're focused on building relationships with your people because you care about them. If you genuinely care about your people, if you genuinely care about your church, about your business, about your community, your spouse, your kids, your friends, you will do exactly what you need to do to take care of them, to support them, to serve them, which when you're doing those things, guess what that does? It provides a little dopamine hit. This is like a legitimate thing.
Okay.
Like, this is something, when you serve somebody, when you do something for somebody else, your body has this reaction. It gives you a dopamine hit. When you help people, you get a dopamine hit. When you compliment somebody, you get a dopamine hit. When you check something off your to-do list, you get a dopamine hit. So that's how you stay motivated and disciplined and dialed in.
Yeah.
And the other aspect that I don't think we go into it on this one, but there's also like that spiritual warfare aspect. Like, if you're not going to war spiritually to protect your mind and your thoughts and your family and your congregation, then guess what? That complacency is going to creep in.
Yeah.
So, but if you care about your people and you're building relationships, you'll be fueled to do all the right things.
Man, I'm thinking about,
people overcomplicate this. Okay. Sorry to interrupt you.
No.
I'm not saying that you're overcomplicating this. I'm saying
one of them.
No. That was not directed towards you. What I'm saying is that's why some people are going to be like, wait, hold on. I have a hard time thinking that it's just complacency in relationships.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying this to be like rude.
Right.
But give me an example where focusing on building relationships and showing the people that you care about them is ever going to make things worse in your life.
I can't.
Nobody can.
Yeah.
And this is a respectful challenge. In the comments on YouTube, if you can give me an example of where showing people that you care about them and you being focused on building good, healthy, working relationships is going to be a negative thing, I really want to talk about it. Because I would love for somebody to give an example and us go, all right, that's a unique perspective. I've never thought of it that way. Let's dive into it. And then we dive into it. So
I do overcomplicate this.
Okay.
There's no doubt about it.
That's usually what really intelligent people do. So.
Well, good. I'm happy to wear that moniker. But one of the reasons that I overcomplicate it is there is a dichotomy that I do not always do well, right? So that's probably the most simplistic way to say it. Jocko talks about this. You've talked about this. How do you, especially with like somebody that you're training, and particularly, and I know that this is not the area where you typically lead, but as a minister, like I'm coming to you saying, all right, I've got somebody who I have a wonderful relationship with. There's somebody that I'm leading and that I'm training. They have also been a member of my congregation for a while. Our friendship has grown to the point now where they are able to see clearly my flaws and that the leadership relationship now has some tension within it because the relationship is great, but now this person has become difficult for me to lead.
Are you saying that person is difficult to lead because they feel like they are a better leader than their leader?
I think that person is difficult for me to believe as we talk about overanalysis because I am worried that they see only my flaws because of my own insecurity, not because of anything that they've done or said. I'm in my head about...
Oh, so you just have to get over your own self-imposed limitations and your own self-imposed insecurities that don't actually exist.
Yeah, so tell me how to do that.
Just get over it. I'm just kidding. I really...
That's such an Echelon Front answer.
I really... No, it's not.
How do you be more disciplined? Be more disciplined. Oh, okay, great. Thank you.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thanks for that. Thanks for that answer. I really wanted just to pause for like another 10 seconds. Be like, that's all it is. And you're like, okay, well, this is done.
No, that wouldn't have been. I would have just started like nervously talking my way into or out of whatever the situation is, right?
Oh, yeah. Man, I wanted to do that so badly. Okay, so I mean, with that, this is actually a little hard because you have to come to a point where you're self-aware about that.
Yeah.
Here's how I think people get over that. By listening to podcasts like this.
Okay.
By having leaders that are willing to see that somebody on their team overthinks things and are insecure. It's by reading a book that's going to give you this awareness. That's why, think about this. Like last episode, we were talking about my buddy Sean Hess.
Mm-hmm.
He became self-aware that he needed to work on some things and improve it. So what did he start doing? Listening to Jocko's podcast. And then that podcast brought him to our podcast.
Yeah.
Which brought him to Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu podcast. Which brought him to reading other books and opening up his mind.
Yeah.
Which led him to sending me a message. And he went to pursue. And now his life has changed. His life is completely and drastically changed. And he already has 3 men. 3 of his close friends that he's talked to. And we got back. I mean, I talked to him last night. So from Sunday night till Monday night, a 24-hour period, he already has 3 people that want to go to the next pursuit in February.
That's awesome, man.
Because he had an open mind. So that's what I would say is that's the first step to changing those limiting beliefs and restrictions that are self-imposed, is by having an open mind and learning to look back and detach and say, all right, let me do an evaluation of myself. Let me do a true, honest self-assessment. And this person, I'm willing to bet, is going to err on the side of being harder on themselves than they actually are, because they're probably a humble person. You're a humble person. You see your flaws, you identify it. And so you have to understand that with that humility, by doing honest self-assessments that you're diving deep into, can also possibly expose some of that self-doubt, like questioning. You start questioning yourself and your capabilities. Yeah. So you're going to have to find that balance. Now, if somebody's not aware to that, that's going to be hard, because if somebody's not self-aware and they lack humility and they don't have a good leader that can show them their flaws and talk to them about their flaws, if they're not listening to a podcast or they're not listening to a book, cocky, arrogant people that lack humility usually aren't seeking out knowledge for personal development and leadership development, because they think, I've got it all figured out.
Yep.
So if you're in that position and you're listening to this and you're like, oh, that's me, this is what I do, do an honest self-assessment and evaluation of yourself. Seek out feedback from peers, from your leadership, and your subordinates. Because if you have a really good relationship, you can go to your team and say, hey guys, I know I have flaws as a leader. We all have flaws. I know I have flaws, and what I'm trying to do is improve my leadership capabilities to better serve you. So I'd like some feedback in regards to my strengths and weaknesses, what you like, what you don't like, and what you feel that you're good at that I'm not good at, so that we can find ways to work together. And hey, what have I been able to help you with? Like, what have I taught you over the years? So you create this conversation, you put it on a PDF, so that they fill it out, and then, or however you want to capture that information. And then you have a conversation and you discuss it, and you create this environment where people feel like they can actually talk with each other freely and have conversations. And, if you work for me and if I'm saying, hey, and I say all those things to you, if we have a good relationship, and I also set the professional boundaries. It's funny, I wrote down professional boundaries as you're asking this question, because I was like, I think we're going to touch this, but I don't know yet. You set professional boundaries of receiving that feedback so that you can have good conversations back and forth. I think you're going to be good to go. You'll get the answers you need. We're flying over to Australia for a muster, and I was sitting next to Leif on the flight, which was awesome. Yeah. You spend 17 hours next to the boss, like, bro, give me all that time.
Do you sleep on planes?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because for me, that would be like a 17-hour nap on Leif's shoulder.
Yeah, I am out cold on planes.
Okay.
I have conditioned myself to where it's funny. I'll be full of energy, like maybe had a couple energy, or not a couple of energies in the morning, but like an energy drink.
Couple of goes.
Yeah, on the way to the airport, or some coffee or whatever, and I'll be like good to go. And Amanda laughs like whenever we travel together as a family, because this is obviously what I do when I'm traveling solo for business. Is I've just condition myself, because I don't get a lot of good sleep in a hotel room the first night, because it's a different room, different environment, sounds, all those things. I don't get a lot of good sleep, and I'm usually going from city to city to city. So that's a week of not good sleep. Right. Well, where does my body get it? On flights.
On the airplane.
So
nice.
I'll have all this energy, be good to go. Literally, I could be drinking an energy drink on the plane, typing, working on stuff. As soon as we get to the point where it's like, hey, we're getting ready to take off, I'll put my computer away, or my book, or whatever I'm reading. That's what I do. I get on a plane, I start working or reading up until like I have to put it away. And then it's funny, as it's starting, I'm putting my stuff away and they're making their announcements, bro, I get sleepy.
Really? It's like a lullaby. That's amazing.
I have conditioned my body to where it doesn't matter. And Amanda, she cracks up. Like, she cracks up. And I told some of the FTX guys this, the field training exercise role players in the team that we have. Yeah. And they all know this. And Justin, we've been on a few flights together, and he just, bro, he's just like laughing. But he's like me too, where once we get taken off, like, he is out cold.
Really?
And I'm out cold. But yeah, so as soon as we start pulling away from the gate, I'm just like nodding off.
That's awesome.
I'm like fighting it. And I'm like, I always try to like throw in headphones to act like I'm listening to something. Sometimes I'll put on some music or like real soft, like some praise and worship or whatever. But I also do it so that nobody starts a conversation with me, because I will not be able to maintain that conversation. I had one time, it was the most miserable thing ever. And this person was super nice, and we were like talking about all this awesome stuff. And then we started pulling away from the gate, and I'm like really trying to stay awake. And I finally just had to be like, hey, I'm sorry I didn't get a lot of sleep. Like, I'm going to catch up on some sleep, and I'd love to talk to you later. And they're like, no, that's awesome. They're super cool. But I was riding the struggle bus, bro, to stay awake. But yeah, and so once we pulled back from the gate and we're going like taxiing to the runway, like I put my seat back. I put my seat back right away. Or as soon as we take off down the runway, seat goes all the way back, and then I'm out cold. And once we get to elevation, boom, I'm awake. Yeah. And so then I get back to work or whatever else like that. But I always do that. And then on descent, it's the same thing. Like, get ready for descent. I'll sleep until we land. So get those little power naps in there.
I wonder if that's like something Amanda could do to help you with your sleep now.
Oh, everything's good with the sleep now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, in the future, maybe she just needs to go, all right, make sure that your seat backs and tray
seat
tables are showed. Just like slowly watch you doze off.
That's amazing. She used to be a flight attendant, so that would be pretty fun.
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
I don't know. Yeah, you were on a 17-hour trip.
Oh, with Leif.
Sitting next to the boss.
Yeah, sitting next to the boss. So we were talking. So, I mean, he's the same way. He's like getting caught up on sleep, but working. So we're like going back and forth. And we were reviewing some stuff. And man, he's such a good, caring, loving boss. Leif is a boss that he cares about you. He cares about you more than anything else.
Yeah.
And, we were on this flight, and he said, hey, because him and Jocko know that I would always get like super, super, super nervous before speaking out of muster, because I was so just fearful that I was going to screw something up or say the wrong thing or not deliver. Mostly it was like I wanted to deliver the message impactfully to represent Jocko and Leif and Echelon Front properly. Because that's I'm not going to get complacent on that stuff. Like the gift that I have, the opportunity that I have to be a part of this team. And they knew that, and it was always an issue. And Leif, we were flying out there, he goes, hey, nobody cares about what you say in regards to like how it's delivered. Yeah. He's like, you're a great speaker. You always deliver the message. You always deliver what they need to hear. He goes, and even if you screwed up, who cares? They're not going to know. He goes, Jocko and I might not even know. He goes, nobody cares. And he meant that in a way of like, who cares? Like, you shouldn't care. They don't care. You shouldn't care. You screw something up, they're not going to know. And even if you screw something up so bad that you're like, oh, hey, I'm sorry. He goes, dude, just correct it, show humility, and continue on. Boom. And those people are going to relate more to you than anybody else because you're showing that you're human. And so it was that conversation that I was like, all right, cool, we're good.
Yeah.
And so anyways.
Yeah, I do like the intent behind, asking, okay, so, what have I done that's helped in the past? Where do you see some of my flaws? One of the things I've gotten into the habit of doing, and I did this with you, I did this with a couple of other folks that I work with, is ask, hey, what are 3 things that I can do to make you more successful?
I like that.
And
I like that. I remember that.
Yeah. So I've discovered, you still haven't answered that question, but that'll be for episode 13. JP answers what 3 things I can do to make him more successful. But the other part of that
I'm still getting back to that one. I've never had somebody ask me that.
Well, it's an interesting question, right? Because it comes from a place of like, hey, I want to help, I want to serve you, but also there will be some things that when I ask that question that people point out to me.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, you know what? I need you. The guy who's our youth director, who's just an incredible, incredible guy. One of the things that Aaron asks is he's like, I need you to be harder on me. He goes, I need you to ask me more often whether or not I'm doing the things that I'm supposed to do, because, he he works a full-time job. He's a supervisor and trainer at his job where they work with heavy equipment and machinery. They install electrical and gas infrastructure all over DFW. Yes. And so there are times when he's like so inundated with that stuff that he won't get to other things until like after work or after a 15 or 16 hour day, or, you know, realize it halfway through. And he's like, I need you to be on me more to make sure that I get stuff done. And that's not my natural tendency, right?
No, yours is not.
But knowing that, right? Yeah. One, I've asked the question, he's told me, and I need to be able to not just accept the thing that he's asked me to do, but also accept that, hey, this is, whether it's a long-term thing or a short-term thing, something that he needs from me that I'm not executing well in my leadership. Yeah. And then, you know, with everything else, that follow through, and it opens up the door in a way that is that allows, I think, the people you're leading in a non-confrontational way to say, hey, you know what? If you did this for me, that would help me be more successful. Yeah. But it also opens the door to say, you know, some things like, hey, one of the people I asked that question to, they were like, you know, I need you to be intentional about asking me to take time off. Okay. Because they don't naturally do it. And like, I don't take a lot of time off, but they want me to be intentional about doing it. So I'm setting alarms on my phone. I've got that's
awesome.
Yeah, I've got an email alert that will remind me in about 3 months. It'll just pop their email back up, and you can do that through Gmail or through a lot of the email account services. It's going to pop that email up. It's going to be number one in my inbox again in a few months, and it's just going to say, hey, remind so-and-so to take some time off.
That's awesome. Cool. You know, what's funny is I fibbed to you just now.
Oh, man.
I forgot this. That's why I was on my phone looking this up.
Yeah.
One of my very, very, very close buddies, Dylan Davidson, I call him like my little brother because he's like my little brother. We met in Mississippi, and I just instantly was like, man, this is like my little brother. I care about him. Awesome human. I've talked about him before on other podcasts where that's when I was selling my Never Settle t-shirts, and I was selling them at fight shows and different places just to try to make ends meet, like rent or truck payment covered. Yeah. And he would come and help, and he would always be like, nope, we're good. Don't pay me. And I'm like, no, I'm going to pay you for your time. He's like, no, you know, because he just knew I was tight on money. He's just trying to help Amanda and I. Right. And I would I started helping teaching him shooting. We have a really good relationship. And actually on November 18th, I had to look this up. He goes, what can I do to help you in your goals? Like just randomly reaches out to me, and I'm like, dude. And you know what's crazy is like he's doing that because he's being genuine. Yeah. If I was to give him a list of 10 things, he's going to start working on it. Same thing like that guy Ian Hamilton that I was telling you about, or any of the guys that we all know. But it's just like that really threw me off. Not in a bad way, but it was like, oh. So, anyways. Yeah, he now works for SIG. So, talk about this. Yeah, you want to hear something crazy? Is I was teaching him. Now, he knew how to shoot, but I taught him some. I put him through a basic pistol course in a field on a farm in Mississippi at my buddy's property. My buddy Mike Gaines, who... I think he listens to this podcast.
Gaines with a Z?
Gaines. No, just like Gaines. Anyways, he gave me access to his family's 100-acre farm in Mississippi so I could teach shooting because he knew I needed to make extra money. Yeah. And so it's like guys like those that I'm just like, I am indebted to.
No doubt.
Like indebted to. And he's military, Purple Heart. He always says, yeah, I zigged when I should have zagged. And I got shot. I would love to have him on the podcast and share his story.
For sure.
Incredible. He was a police officer in Memphis for a while. Like, Memphis PD. Like, just, dude's a stud.
Those dudes stay busy.
I'm going to keep my comments. Yeah. Yes, they do. Anyways, so I put him through a basic pistol course out in a field in Mississippi. And then he kept shooting and kept wanting to shoot. And he'd be like, hey, man, if you need help. And he'd come out to like shooting classes that I was doing, and he would help for free and just be listening and learning and taking notes and, you know, shoot on the side in between stuff. And he was just always seeking knowledge and to make himself better. And then I was able to get him a job at that combat shooting school that the SEAL teams go to in Mississippi just as a groundskeeper. I'm like, hey, they need someone to help, but it's a foot in the door. So he started doing that, and then he'd just watch classes on his off time on the side, and then he would shoot in the evening and shoot on the weekends, and he was always seeking knowledge and training, and they got to the point where he was running courses there a few years later, like teaching shooting classes.
Yeah.
And now he works for SIG. And him and his wife moved out to the East Coast, and he now works for SIG. And, he took an initial pay cut to go do that. But again, it's like
that's a cool gig.
Yeah. It's a cool company that but yes, absolutely.
Right, yeah.
But there's also a trajectory up. There's a path to growth at that company. And he's doing what he loves. And I just think it's funny. Like, you look back, like it's just crazy to me.
Yeah.
Like, less than 10 years, he's been able to do all that.
That's wild, man.
So, anyways, so I just looked up that text. I thought that was cool. And then you had said something very similar to me as well. So, anyways, what else?
So
I know we're getting close, and I know we went deep on that one, which I think is good. There's a lot of value there,
and I think that those are questions that a lot of people have.
Yeah,
right. That they're certainly we looked at a ministry specific question, but those are things that end up, in the minds of leaders everywhere. Is like, all right, if I want to keep this job, how do I stay in it, and how do I remain effective?
Yeah,
especially when there's turnover and that kind of thing. All right, last question then comes from Tom1DS, THOMP1DS. This is from Instagram. JP, how do you manage to get your workouts in and remain eating a healthy diet while on the road? Thinking about a career change to consulting, but the travel has me concerned of falling off the path and not being home to go to the gym and meal prep my weekly meals.
Yeah. So I'll be 100% transparent and honest is when I'm on the road, my workouts and my diet is not as good as when I'm home.
Yeah.
It could be.
Mm-hmm.
I am clearly lacking that discipline to be that level of dialed in.
Yeah.
It would be, and that's a choice I make, but I still make eating healthy a priority. I still make workouts a priority.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, if I'm in a hotel room, I can get a bad to the bone workout.
Mm-hmm.
I had to filter that real quick for our rating. I can get a legitimate workout using my body weight, doing exercises. Like, that's what we tell people at the muscle. Like, we do the muscle PT workouts.
Yeah.
And we show people, hey, there's zero expense. You just need a little bit of space on the carpet or the concrete or the grass or the dirt to get the work done. Mm-hmm. And it's a whole, like, you can make excuses or you can make things happen. You can't do both.
Yep.
And so, hey, is it a priority? You'll make it happen. And that's why I said, hey, full transparency. And that's just because I haven't made it as much of a priority as I should, because I'm just lacking the discipline on that. It's like, hey, you know what? I'm maintaining, and then now I'm able to progress. I'll take that over nothing. And so I have my diet is dialed in, and it's easy. It's actually easy to eat healthy on the road. There are plenty of options out there.
Yeah.
Go to a grocery store. Like, okay, are you going to be in a different city every day? Okay, that makes it a little more difficult.
Sure.
But at the end of the day, you can still go to a grocery store or a Walmart and get healthy food options. You know, you can get a rotisserie chicken. You can get, and this is what I've done on the road before. And again, it takes a little more intent. But when I was falling 75 hard, every city I'd land into, I'd get my rental car and I'd go straight to a grocery store somewhere to get food that I was going to eat that night and the next morning. And that's what I would just do. And, you know, you can get like the instant rice packets, you know, so you heat up the microwave. And let's say the hotel you're staying at doesn't have a microwave in the room. They have a microwave there. And if you ask them, they can heat up the food.
Yeah.
And so doing that is, you know, you get tuna packets. Not ideal if you're just eating tuna and rice. But again, like, at what level are you trying to achieve your goals? But you can get pretty creative on the road. I mean, you get rotisserie chicken. And, I mean, that's a couple meals.
Yeah.
If you're going to be, you know, if you're staying like in a residence inn, something like that has like a fridge and a kitchen area, then you have zero excuses. That's why we'd always try to put the guys on the road in the teams, and now even at Echelon Front, the FTX team, if we're going to be in a place more like 2-3+ days, we usually try to stay at a Homewood Suites or a Residence Inn.
Yeah.
Because they're actually really good hotels with working with groups. If you call ahead and be like, hey, I have 9 people for 3 days. Like, what can you do with the rate? They're going to work on it. They're going to work with you.
Yeah, they
for
want
sure.
the bookings.
Yeah, they do. And that creates that loyalty and everything else like that. And then when they see what company we're part of, they're like, oh, we should probably maybe have a good relationship with them because they're going to be back again. And we've done that with hotels in Michigan where we're like, hey, I'm going to have 8 to 9 guys for 2 weeks at a time for a total of 13 weeks next year. Like, what rate can you give us? And this guy was like, serious? I'm like, yeah, here's our schedule. And he's like, okay. And he gave us a deal like nobody could touch.
Yeah.
But it was awesome. And they treated us well. And he had all these little accommodations for us because he knew what we needed for meals in the morning. And
that's awesome.
He actually had his staff come in an hour earlier because we'd leave super early in the morning to have breakfast for us.
Really?
Yes.
That's pretty cool.
And, so they're getting the extra pay. Now, we also knew that. And so every guy would, like, each day we would tip that person $20. So now that person's making an extra $100 that week. It's little stuff to try to help out,
For sure.
But so it comes down to, like, if you have the ability to plan out the hotels that you stay at, you have to be strategic and see if they're going to have fridges and microwaves. But then also there's healthy food options at almost every place that you go to now. Now, it may not be ideal, but how disciplined do you want to be? I mean, you go to Chick-fil-A and you can get, Chick-fil-A will do this, where you can just get 3 grilled chicken breasts.
Yeah.
With nothing else. So if at a minimum you're getting your protein in, go to the gas station, get some protein drinks. You can, so I just travel with your protein powder. I travel with my protein powder in bags that are already like, it's a serving of milk in those little baggies, and I just mix it with water. Or if I'm on a flight, I love this one. If you're on a flight, they'll give you orange juice, so I'll have my protein shaker with the vanilla milk in there, and I tell them that I need about 8 ounces of orange juice, and they'll just pour it in there for me. It's awesome, and then I shake it up, and then that's what I'll drink in the morning.
Okay, so you do vanilla protein powder with orange juice?
It tastes like a dreamsicle,
dude. I gotta try this.
It's unreal.
This is a life hack.
It's unreal.
Yeah.
It's really good. So it just comes down to, like, how bad do you want it? How disciplined do you want to be? Cody and I alluded to when we talked about doing 75 hard. You have to actually think. You have to think, plan out your week, plan it. So I would say if you have the ability to get into consulting, don't use this as a reason not to. Because here's the thing I don't know what you're consulting on, but I would be very weary, like, being afraid to go into consulting because of this, because that just tells me that we just need to be more mindful of our strategic thinking. And as a consultant, I'd want my consultants to be strategic thinkers. Not saying that you're not, but I'm just saying, like, just something to think about and put on the table is like, hey, how can you be more strategic with all these things? It's going to make you a better consultant, because that's the way you should be thinking about stuff.
One of the things I know both of us and some of our friends too have looked at the vertical diet from, like, Stan Efferding, and he's one of the big proponents of the ground beef and rice meals and all of that stuff. He talks about traveling with thermoses.
Yeah, I've listened to his podcast and what he does.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's like, it's one of for me, it was a game changer.
Are those like in and out trips though? Like, so
for him, a lot of times it's like the 1 days.
Yeah. But like, he also will go buy a microwave every trip.
Okay. So I'm not into buy a microwave every trip, but
I thought the same thing, but then you look at it, you can actually get microwaves for like $15, $20. He's not getting a big fancy. It's a little crappy. He doesn't care if he leaves in the hotel room. So there's,
but that's one. It's cheaper than one fast food meal if you decide to do that.
Yep.
And you're at that point you're going to get better stuff. We used to, when I was traveling with Team Impact, we used to travel with hot plates.
Yep.
So I could take a hot plate and put it in my checked bag. So I would travel with a hot plate. I'd go buy a small pan or whatever, and like you were saying, like the little rice, and then cook. I had everything that I needed to cook up my meals, load them up into thermoses, and then I had everything that I needed for the day. Was with me already. And that keeps the meals hot when you put them into the thermoses. Just eat it right out of there. So that way I can also eat it whenever I'm traveling. If I've got to go, if we had 15 schools assemblies that we had to do in a day, I'm not going to go sit down at a buffet. I know I'm going to be in the car all day moving from place to place. I just grab a spoon and take it right out of the thermos. There's a lot of ways to do it if you're being strategic.
I mean, you can prep all your own meals and freeze them and then take them with you. And then you can travel in your carry-on bag with frozen food and also non-frozen food. You just got to set it out. They'll scan it real quick.
Yeah.
And then like swipe it and then you're good to go.
Yeah.
And then, your hotel is going to have a fridge. And if they don't, you can request a fridge.
Yeah.
And also, like if you have medical conditions, and you request a fridge for your medicine, they have to provide it to you.
Boom.
So if you travel with medicine that has to be refrigerated, a hotel has to provide you a refrigerator free of charge.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And with the workout stuff, man, one of the best things you can do, not only like you got the, find the dirt patch of the concrete, which is where we were at the muster.
Yeah, jumping jacks, push-ups, squats, sit-ups,
so many
kicks,
things you can modify.
Lunges, yeah.
But also, if we're talking about being strategic, what cities you're likely to go to, right? There's like 10 major cities in the United States where consultants travel to all the time. You're going to be in Dallas. You're going to be in Chicago. You're going to be in Charlotte.
Planet Fitness,
you're going to be in Miami.
Every city.
I was going to say, that's exactly right. Like, go find what's the gym that's going to be in every city. You're going to have an LA Fitness. You might have a Lifetime. You're definitely going to have a Planet Fitness in all of them. Yeah. So, just don't set off the lunk alert.
Yeah, I just got rid of my Lifetime. Did we talk about this?
I don't think so.
I felt like we talked about it.
Is it because you didn't use the hairdresser appointments enough at Lifetime Fitness?
No, dude. I had a membership based out of here in Fort Worth that Amanda and I signed up for years ago. And then I went to go use another gym, and they're like, oh, you're not at this level. I'm like, I'm based out of the Fort Worth one, where they told me gives me access to all the different levels of Lifetimes except for New York and San Francisco, because they have those higher level paying gyms.
The elite level.
Yeah. No, it was elite level too, but here's the crazy thing about Lifetime. If I pay, let's say, $100 a month for my membership, you only have access to the Lifetimes where their rates are $100 or less. If it's
shut up.
Yeah, so if I travel to Nashville and there's a Lifetime that charges $115 a month, I can't go train there. It's stupid, bro.
That's messed up.
So I was on the road, and I was going to get a workout in before I got in the car. So I landed in the city. I had a 3.5 hour drive. I was like, well, I can sit in traffic for 4.5 hours, or I can go work out and then drive 3.5. So I go do that.
Go to the gym, shower, go work out.
Yes, exactly. That's the only thing. I shower after I get off planes because I'm like, gross. Anyways, mostly when I come home.
I understand that one.
When I come home. Yeah. When I come home, I'm definitely like, but And so I went in there, and one, they're rude to me about like that I didn't have a membership there, and they're like, yeah, this is where your home gym is in Novi, Michigan. I'm like, no, it's not. They're like, well, this is what the computer says. I said, I live in Fort Worth, Texas, and this girl literally had zero ability to think outside of anything that wasn't programmed into her brain, which is sad. Not talking bad about her, but just that's a failure of her leadership.
Right.
And you know what she said to me? She goes, it says in the computer that your home base is Novi, Michigan. And I said, ma'am, I don't live in Michigan. I've never lived in Michigan. I go there for work. But when I signed up and got my membership, my home gym is in Fort Worth, Texas.
Yeah.
The computer says you're out in Novi, Michigan. And I said, okay, I know what the computer says. And so we went back and forth and said, hey, okay. So I would just want to train her. She's like, well, you're not at this access level. I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, well, this is what you pay for your membership, and this is what the rates are here. I said, okay. So you're saying I can't train here because I don't pay the same amount? She's like, no. I said, okay, I'd like to cancel my membership.
Yeah, boom, done.
And she goes, wait, you want to cancel your membership? I'm like, absolutely. Yeah. I was like, I appreciate your help. Thank you. And I was super polite and nice. I was like, I'd like to, and she's like, okay. And she goes and grabs somebody, and the lady's like, yeah, so you want to cancel a membership? I'm like, yep. And then we had the whole conversation. And I said, I'm not frustrated with you or her. I was like, but I'm telling you, I didn't sign up for my membership in Novi. This is what I pay in Fort Worth. And here's what's crazy, bro. She looks it up. She's like, okay, And she goes, well, yeah, I mean, so you pay more in Fort Worth than Novi, Michigan, but it's still not as much as here. So technically you're not, you wouldn't have access here. I'm like, so, okay. She's like, but I'll let you, work out here for the day. I'm like, okay. I still want to cancel.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll let you work out here for the day. I'm going to be here all week.
She's like, you're going to cancel your membership. I'm like, yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
She's like, okay, can I ask why? It was amazing. And so I'm like, okay, yeah. And so I explained it all back to her again. I said, well, I travel and, this is what I was told when I got my membership. And I was like, and I've legitimately never had this issue ever, ever.
Yeah.
And, so this was outside of Minneapolis. And apparently they're super proud of that gym because of what they charge there. I'm like, that's ridiculous.
Dang.
Now I get Lifetimes are a higher level gym. They're nice. Sure. But, and so anyways, so I canceled it and I went and worked out and left. And, it's funny. I've gotten like an email from Lifetime, but yeah, I canceled. It was so stupid. Like the way they dealt with it. And I also told the lady, I'm like, hey, can you see how often I actually get into Lifetime? She's like, yeah. I'm like, cool. So considering how little I use your guys' gym, does it make sense for you guys to really enforce me not being able to use higher levels because of the amount of money I spend each month to have a membership that I don't use often, but I keep it because I like your facilities when I'm on the road and the pool because I like to have access to the pool for swim workouts. I'm like, but I've got an amazing home gym workout set up and I can hit other gyms. And to be honest, on the road, I don't need a Lifetime. Technically, I can any gym.
Yeah.
And she was like looking at everything and she just couldn't comprehend that. And so anyway, so that's why that was my feedback back to Lifetime. And,
all right, so maybe not Lifetime, but
no, I don't care if you got one, go. But I was using that as an example of like it just brought of like bad leadership. Like that was crazy to me. It was the inability for any of them to think, to be able to process it, to be able to problem solve, and they didn't care. Like they're like, oh, we're losing a customer. I don't care. That showed me, it was like, I don't want my money going to them.
Yeah.
Because if you don't care that somebody wants to cancel their membership, that's a problem. Yeah. That's a major problem. I couldn't imagine having a company where my people didn't care if we lost a customer.
Yeah. And then followed it up with, so why are you leaving after you've been talking to them for how long?
A while.
Yeah.
But anyways, something to think about. I know we're getting ready to wrap it up, but do you have any more questions that we just want to do rapid fire?
Just some rapid fire questions? Yeah. So toilet paper roll, over or under?
Whatever my wife wants.
I think that's a safe bet.
Yeah.
What's the number one quality that you look for in a leader outside of humility?
The ability to communicate and listen.
Why do you think listening is so important?
Because you need to be able to process the information that person is telling you so that you can give them the right information back. You can't assume what you think they need because your perspective is flawed and it's a different perspective of what they actually have and what they have going on. And also when you actively listen to somebody talking, it shows them that you respect them. Therefore, that builds a relationship. They know that they care about you and it ties into that. The leadership aspects that we want.
How does listening, or what role does listening play in asking earnest questions?
It's, I think, the most important part of it, because if I'm not listening to you, then I can't ask the right questions because I'm not processing all the information.
When you talk about asking earnest questions, how, if we were to create a formula, like this is the formula that you use to ask an earnest question. Mm-hmm. If I've never done it before, or if I'm trying to figure out what that means, walk me through the formula for asking an earnest question.
So when are you talking about me asking you earnest questions to get you to see something on your own?
Sure. Yeah. Let's do that.
So you want to know
like in your lifetime situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How, okay. Oh, so how I would have guided her to see things differently?
Absolutely.
I mean, I was on that path,
questions, yeah.
But then I didn't care anymore.
Yeah.
That's why I was just like, you know what? I'm not gonna keep spending money here.
Yeah.
Like I will go get 3 other random gym memberships for the same price and have access any city I go to.
Yeah. So put yourself in. So you're in a leader position. You've got a recording of this interaction between customer JP
yeah.
and this lady. As that leader, how do you formulate what your earnest questions are in order to get them to see? Yeah.
Yeah. So I would play back the recording. I would say, hey, there's a few things I want to talk about. I know we just lost this membership, and the conversation was actually recorded. And as you know, from a business standpoint, losing customers is a problem, because if we continue to lose problems, this is actually how it impacts you. Not just the organization, but you. And clearly this is my fault for not explaining how important it is that we retain our customers, that we maintain good relationships and a reputation, that we care about our clients. So I have this recording and I want us to listen to it, and I want you to tell me what stands out as the biggest problem. Yeah. And then we'll start there. And I would play the recording and let them see or whatever. And if they get done with it, like, I don't really know. Like, I don't know what the big problem is. And then I would start asking specific questions to get them to see the answer of, actively listening to them, and, not, showing empathy for this customer who is frustrated that he was told one thing and another. And, going down, it's like, I would say, like, a simple example is, hey, multiple times we told the customer that they lived in Novi, Michigan, and it was clear that they're frustrated because what city did he say that he lived in?
Fort Worth.
Okay. Yes. Awesome. Do you think in the future when somebody says, hey, this is where I live and this is where I signed up, do you think that it would help us build a relationship with the customer by saying, hey, I understand that. Hey, do you still currently live in Fort Worth? And if he says, yes, I live there, I'd be like, awesome. Hey, do you mind if I see your ID? Because I just want to verify this, and I'm going to see what I could do to get this changed in the system. And so now I look at the ID, you see their ID, and boom, it matches up. And then, also in our system, you can go all the way back in all the customer's information and see that they signed up in Fort Worth. And then we have a record of everything that we do here. So then you can say, hey, this is when it was changed to Novi, Michigan. Do you go up to Novi, Michigan often? And then the customer, he told you later, was he works there. So then you could have said, well, I don't know why, but this gym changed it to the home gym. Did you have them change it to the home gym because you were supposed to be moving there, or you're going to be spending a lot of time up there and you wanted that to be your home gym? And then I would listen to what the customer has to say. And if they said, yeah, hey, actually, you know what? I was going to move up there and I forgot about that. And I think that's why the gym changed it. Then at that point, you could say, okay, would you like me to keep that? Or would you like me to change it back to Fort Worth where you currently live? Or do you think you're going to be moving up to this area? Would you like this to be your home gym in the future? Like, I'm trying to build a relationship and rapport and get to know this person. And so that's where I would start, is just teaching them how to think, not what to think.
Yeah.
And the big part to that is asking questions like, hey, what do you think about this? Or what's your thoughts on us being able to implement this plan right now? And hey, here's some good questions that you can start asking people to get information that gives you enough information so that you can make a decision on your own to maintain that customer.
Yeah.
So
I think that's stellar, man. The earnest questions piece is such an important part in helping people understand not just where they went wrong, but how they can be better in the future.
Yep. Absolutely. Yep. So, hey, as always, we want to thank you guys for the support each of you have given us by listening, sharing, subscribing, and commenting. Definitely helps us out. If you want to follow us on social media, I am at JPDINNELL, and Lucas is at LUCASPINCKARD. Make sure you're also following at Echelon Front. That's ECHELONFRONT. If you want to learn more about what we do at Echelon Front, go check out echelonfront.com. I would hope to see you at a future event, or for one of our instructors to be able to come work with you and your company. We have the ability for all of our instructors to be able to come work with you guys. If you want, you can also check out at Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu _USA. It's a ministry that I'm a part of with Isaac Tauefa, Stephen Little, Josh Strasberger. We also have a podcast called the Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu podcast. We started that ministry to help get people to events, to be exposed to Jesus and learn more about Jesus and God, and it helps strengthen their faith in the religion. I'm sorry, not the religion, but the relationship with God. We have people show up that we know would never go to a church, but they'll go to a free jiu-jitsu seminar. And then we have somebody share their testimony, talk about Jesus. And then we do a little open mat jiu-jitsu afterwards, which is always an amazing time. I'm also a partner of a Texas beef company called Little Cattle Co. You can go to littlecattle.co to get some more information on that. You can follow us on Instagram. We're at Little Cattle Co. Get that beef, dog. You got beef. Anyways, my best friend Stephen Little started it back. My wife and I, we partnered up with them. It's awesome. We can deliver beef anywhere in the lower 48 states. If you own a business, we can also send custom boxes of beef to your employees as a thank you, to your customers as a thank you. And then also as an individual, we can do it on your behalf as a gift for the holidays coming up. Instead of giving somebody a gift that you just don't think they're going to appreciate, or like you're talking about, like all those little different gifts.
Oh yeah.
You can send them some beef from Little Cattle Co. And we're getting ready to have that ground beef subscription available, which is going to be amazing. Also partner with one of my other best friends, Josh Strasburger, for a t-shirt printing company called On the Path Printing. You can follow us on Instagram at On the Path Printing. We're, like I said, a t-shirt and apparel printing company based out of the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And the only work we're going to be doing is from people that we connect with on Instagram. So just to keep it to where we can control the workflow, the workload as we slowly grow that company. We also want to thank Origin and Jocko Fuel for the partnership that I've had with them since day one when I met them. They're a huge supporter of everything that we do at Echelon Front. Obviously, there's a connection between Jocko and that, but also just everything that we do at Echelon Front and supporting this podcast. So Origin Maine, as in the state.com, or originusa.com. You can go check out all their American-made apparel. 100% American-made. Pete Roberts bringing the manufacturing supply chain back to America. It's absolutely incredible what they have. Jeans, boots, shirts, hoodies, belts, wallets, hats, hunting line, workout clothes, casual clothes, travel clothes. It's absolutely incredible. Done what people said we couldn't do. And obviously all that jiu-jitsu stuff. Supplements out there, some of the best supplements out there on the market. Healthy, good, clean energy and fuel for you. Also, as a reminder, make sure you guys get on the path with Lucas and I and the Echelon Front team and a lot of my friends that are already signed up. Go to the DEFReset.com to get signed up for the DEFReset and get after it with us. And remember, go out there and find a way to go get one more rep. This has been the JP Dinnell Podcast, episode 12.